I have 10 thoughts on Cowboys win here. bloggingtheboys.com's Dan Rogers wrote a nice little piece. You should read that blog if you want more Cowboys content, but serves as a decent framework here we can work off of, and I'll have a question for you on each one of these takeaways. Tolbert with the game winner, third-year wide receiver, asked to step up in the absence of Brandon Cooks, and Tolbert had 7 catches and 87 yards, not only career highs, but more than what Cooks has been able to produce in the entire season, when it comes to yards, and the same amount of touchdowns now. What do you think? Should Tolbert be wide receiver number 2?
Well, he is for the next 3 weeks, because what's going to happen is they get with Cooks is going to go on the injured list and he'll miss 4 games. So you'll get a pretty darn good example. Hopefully every week you get kind of the same way that we just saw him play. Hopefully the next 3 weeks he does the same thing, and you can have a better understanding. And when Cooks does come back, maybe you have another role for him.
What do you think, Chief? When Cooks comes back, is Tolbert your second-best wide receiver?
I mean, I think there's certainly a chance after what you saw last night. That was a big-time step-up performance there. It doesn't seem like they've been able to get the most out of Brandon Cooks this year, and maybe he's been banged up, but we'll see what version of him you get. I think Tolbert and Turpin have both earned opportunities to where, hey, this doesn't have to be – this could be kind of a by committee situation with wide receiver 2. I don't think you're hell-bent on getting Brandon Cooks in there if Tolbert and Turpin can do some of the stuff that they did last night.
Number 2 is running back. I think we should have seen the end of running back by committee, right, Brian?
Yeah, I think so. Me personally, I would like to see what a combination of Cook and then Rico Dowdle might be. I don't know if we'll get that. Hunter Lipke could be the third guy, but it'd be just give it a whirl. See what you got. I mean, they've taken Zeke off the field as far as a lot of the pass blocking stuff because Rico can do that. And I don't know if Cook is necessarily that guy, but in those situations, you could surely sub Rico or Hunter Lipke if you need it.
Okay, that's just a no-brainer, right? It's malpractice if you go with anybody else running the ball the majority of the time.
Yeah, and you can even see like the short yardage late in the game. It goes to Rico. There's Hunter Lipke getting some more short yardage opportunities as well. I mean, I would say Dowdle and Lipke before you even get to Zeke, and now you have a chance for, hey, you could let Zeke sit this week, play Cook, and get the bye week. That could be 2 weeks off for Zeke to recover a little bit.
I mean, based on what Dalvin Cook did last year in 2 different stops, and the fact that he hasn't surged onto the active roster yet.
Well, better than just, if you want to, to me, no harm if you give him a look and elevation, a couple of these games, fresh legs, fresh body, your offensive line getting maybe a little bit of rhythm the last couple of weeks with some run blocking stuff. I'll take that chance just to see what I got.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Okay, number 4, red zone ineptitude.
That's been bad.
Luckily, they were able to break that trend on their final offensive possession. Yeah. But if it wasn't for how bad the running game is or the defense is or how unhealthy they've been, like red zone offense would be the biggest topic by far if things were going better.
I think just offense in general. This team, it just struggles to move the ball. And then, it comes up with some pretty decent play combinations, and then it will completely go back into something you don't even recognize. I just think there's some of these teams you watch, it's just so the offense flows, and this offense doesn't flow. Everything seems to be just a kind of a 5-alarm fire, that ends up being, a 3rd and 1, a 3rd and 2. So it just doesn't. It doesn't convert enough on first and second downs. It takes this thing to third down like way too much.
Yeah, I mean, once you get into the red zone now, it's more on the things that you struggle with become highlight. If you can't run the ball in the red zone, that's going to be a huge issue. That your creativity has to go up offensively as well with some of the design stuff. We know that can be an issue for them. And then the penalties. I mean, and their second red zone attempt yesterday, it's 1st and 10. We're going to hand it to Zeke. We're going to lose 1 yard. Okay, so that's what we're going to waste first down. Now it's 2nd and 11. Dak can't find anybody. He's under pressure, throwaway situation. Now it's 3rd down. Okay, we'll get a Terrence Steele false start, and this is great. Now we'll sit in 3rd 16, and we'll just hand it to Lipke on a give-up play, and we'll just settle for 3. So you just see time and time again all of the issues. You can't run the ball. You don't have great play design. Here's a penalty, or here's a ridiculous throw from Dak, and boom. Now it's all out there. You can see all their issues when they're in the red zone.
On the topic of play design, it's even more frustrating, I feel like, because sometimes, and there was a handful of them last night, the pre-snap motion or the motion at the snap is dialed. And you're like, wow, this seems like it would be a really cool thing to build off of, but it's almost like a one-off that happens occasionally when they really need a big play. They're like, hey, here's our money thing that we know the other team hasn't seen. They almost look at it like a trick play instead of a system.
Yes, it's not their bread and butter. They have a couple of designs in their scripted 15 plays that you can see, and then like you said, then it's just a sprinkle here and there, but it's not just a part of their DNA offensively.
Had another 11 penalties. That's a huge takeaway on last night, and a reason that this game was unnecessarily close, Brian. Do you think they can get this figured out as the season goes on?
Penalties?
Yeah.
No.
What do you need to do to get it fixed? New coaching staff?
I think that's pretty drastic, but
that's pretty dramatic.
But it's pretty dramatic. But you look at the situation, and this head coach has talked about penalties it seems like the last 2 years he's talked about it, and every week, when they've had 3 victories, and he always go, well, the penalties were a little too much today. And you're like, okay, I get it. Some of these officials are, they do call too many penalties. But you have an undisciplined team. You don't handle things particularly well. Look at Hoffman. Hoffman plays 2 plays and gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
Yeah.
What are you doing, bro?
He's a brawler.
What are you doing? And and then Linville Joseph. Oh, you're just gonna you're gonna rake Frazier's face, the center. Twist the face mask, hands in the face. You know better than to do that. But it happens, and I just don't feel like he could talk about it. They have officials out there. They're an undisciplined football team.
Don't you feel like we're heading in the direction of a coaching change, though?
You know what? I'll tell you this, though. I feel like, though, that if it ends up like we think it's going to be, where it's 9-8 and they don't make the playoffs, yeah, they're going to let Mike McCarthy go and start over, I believe.
Yeah, I feel like we're 12 games away from.
We'll get one team out of this division that will be in the playoffs, and it'll be the team that wins the division, whoever that is.
How about number 8? We'll jump down here, losing Marshawn Nealon, Cowboys defensive line already without Micah and Tank, and there in the first half, he's down, knee injury. The only good news is that it appears, they've avoided a catastrophic knee injury as far as patella, ACL, stuff like that, and it's still a tear, a meniscus tear, and he's going to have a procedure tomorrow to get that cleaned up. They call it clipped. They're gonna cut it off. So
yeah,
I know that's been a problem in basketball for Brandon Roy. It's been a problem for Bernard King. It's been a problem for Jamal Mashburn. Now, I mentioned a player from the 80s, from the 90s, and then a player from the 2000s. So it's not like it happens often, but sometimes they go in to clip these, and it's like the body does not react the way that you would want it, and there's a significant drop in athleticism. But the fact that they're taking the short route here, which is to clip it instead of repair it, maybe it's just such a small type of deal. I know all of those different operations aren't created equally, but I don't feel like we're going to be out of the woods until we see Nealon back on the field, and maybe he'll be back for the Thanksgiving game. Tyler Guyton's going to be much sooner. I think the concern there, Brian, is just how good of a rookie is he? What kind of a progress are we on?
He has not played anybody that's worse than him, and that's been a problem. And they continually break him down. They understand that he struggles with his technique. He's doing his best to work with his feet. There's some times where he has some decent sets. There's some times where he actually run blocks pretty well. But when he has to deal with a rusher that can attack his edge, it's been a problem because his feet and his hands don't always work together like they need to.
And what, at year 2, year 3, can you get better at this? You're hopeful?
We're hopeful. I mean, I think he can, because I think he's got the athletic ability. I think he's got the length, and I think he's got the temperament to do this. The problem is, though, that it's learning on the run right now.
So, out of all the rookie offensive linemen that we've seen taken by the Cowboys in the first round, I don't remember any of them struggling to this level.
I think part of it is he was a right tackle now trying to play left tackle. So it's not like he's a natural thoroughbred left tackle. They're kind of having to throw him there a little bit. And as you mentioned, Broadus, it's been tough sledding. Week 1, here's Myles Garrett, the pass rushers that the Ravens have, a couple guys that the Saints have. And then even the Giants with what they're working with now with Burns and Thibodeau, and then T.J. Watt and Herbig yesterday. Yeah. So I'm still optimistic that he will end up being a good player. And I guess your fallback option, if he doesn't end up being the left tackle you want, you just take him back over to right tackle.
Yeah,
at some point. But yeah. I'm not anywhere close to being there yet. I think he will get this figured out.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Okay, and then I wanted to put in context this defensive quality showing for a second game in a row. They really stuffed Daniel Jones in the Giants running game, and then they did even better against Fields and Harris. You know, how much stock do you put into this? 2 games in a row, getting a handle on it. Is it just going to be these sophisticated schemes with a physical offensive line? And if we don't see those, we can anticipate this Cowboys defense is going to stuff teams that match that description?
I mean, yeah, you just played 2 offenses that struggled to score in the Giants and the Steelers. Not very explosive at all. So, but you'll take what you can get right now, especially with the fact that you're dealing with so many injuries defensively. You're appreciative of any type of solid effort that you can find here. Now, you're about to get Detroit and San Francisco. So we'll see just what the level of improvement is. It'll be nice to see, okay, how much improvement have you had since the Saints game? Because you're about to see 2 offenses that can put up 40-plus on you just like they did.
All righty. There you have it, the top 10 takeaways from Cowboys over Steelers.